The world in 86 is tragically fascinating. There were some great conversations I had in the comments last week between people making parallels to World War II to really interesting arachnid-like forms to these machines, giving it a lot more interesting of a feel. Because honestly, when we see mechas or robots or any sort of creature that is mechanical that is used as a weapon on the battlefield, they're pretty much the same thing we see at time and time again. They run fast or they have jets to kind of propel them, but having an arachnid form, it just makes it feel a lot more fast-paced and brutal and unpredictable. And with the way they're animating it, the production quality is absolutely insane. But to actually get a good focus on the 86, this very ostracized side that literally, the way they dehumanize these characters. You have Hsieh, the Undertaker, this very, I guess, stoic, very cool, calm, and collected. As many of the 86 are laughing and making a mockery out of the new handler, he's kind of someone who just goes with the flow, it seems like. He's very collected, but he's also very reckless, it seems like. But that recklessness seemingly is proving to work time and time again. I mean, there's a moment in the battle where, logically, this is not what should happen. You're putting your life on the line. There's probably more of a chance you'll get killed than if you'll succeed. It's better to take it more tactically. But he rushes in and he seemingly gets the job done. It kind of feels like he's the kind of character who's fine being a martyr, fine putting himself completely on the line for the other's sake, and seemingly it's proving to be okay so far, but I mean, next week's episode is like titled something like I Don't Want to Die, so I imagine we're going to see some more bloodshed in episode 3, but I love the idea of this character who, he's so mysterious is the best way. Like, every single handler who's been a part of the Undertaker squad here has either lost their mind or has, requested to withdraw. The idea that he's someone who has to constantly read or do things to keep his mind active, seemingly to keep something in his own mind at bay. I mean, we saw that box of almost like medals, even though it comes off of their own machines, right? But I love the idea that they show us a box that had to have how many hundreds in there of just the amount of soldiers that have fallen, and he keeps a box of all of them. Like, there's so much pain behind this man's face, but he doesn't show it in any single way. And I think it's so fascinating watching a character like we have our handler, Lena, who's trying her best to be a human towards them, treating them as such. I mean, the conversation at the end of the episode, I think, is probably my favorite part of the episode, because most of them are pretty pissed off at her by the looks of it. The faces say it all. But then there's others who just kind of are laughing or saying, oh, this is, a week in a row. This is a new record of a handler actually wanting to talk with us. But the idea of, like, her wanting reports and them saying, like, we've never really submitted them because no one reads them. Well, I will read them. I want reports of everything. It feels almost like she's trying to be like a mother to them in a lot of ways, despite being the same age. And to see the difference of opinions, even for characters who haven't said a single word about the new handler, there's such a mixture of pissed off, there's a mixture of comedic relief, and then there's someone like the Undertaker Hsieh, who's just, he's annoyed, it kind of seems like at times, and then at other times he's like, you're not going to last anyway, so, I'll go with the flow for the time being, but I don't really have to put too much thought in you because you're probably not going to last. That kind of feels like the impression it's giving me, and to just watch a character like him, how they really feel more like humans than the other silver-haired, silver-eyed creatures that we've seen in the Republic. I mean, there's obviously been a couple of characters who have given a strong impression on the Republic side. Obviously, our handler, the person who supports her after the battles and things like that. But most of them seem like they're so indoctrinated by this propaganda, and this propaganda machine is insane. She goes on a spree in a classroom of new recruits who she says the entire truth. And I saw last week a lot of people saying, why doesn't she try to actually expose the bullshit of this world? It makes no sense for her to keep it in. This episode, she does exactly that. She breaks down a lecture and completely says how everything is. And the only reason she's probably not, quietly assassinated or removed from office is because of her uncle. But how long can that actually work? Because I feel like that's gonna eventually bite her in the ass. It's probably one thing to say to a group of students who are impressionable. It's probably a different thing to say to the public. Everything on the news she says is a lie. There's a lot of falsehoods about everything where they're saying, we made these machines and there's been no casualties since then. And she's saying, no, that's a complete and utter lie. I work with them. I have trained with them. It's such an interesting concept. And I love the idea of starting the episode off with Hsieh, seeing the beautiful battle, focusing in on her and then focusing back in on Hsieh, It's so brutal, and I can already say without much struggle, the Spearhead Squadron is without a doubt the most rootable side of this story. Despite clearly having a good-hearted handler, the Republic is toxic, and it's gonna be interesting to see, like, the opponents that they're fighting, because I feel like eventually we gotta get something on their side, because so far it's been the Republic and then obviously the Spearhead Squadron. But the difference in, I think, the way the Spearhead Squadron is treated, and obviously other 86 compared to probably the antagonists or the opponents of this war, is very night and day. There's a lot of really interesting detail to the overall textures of their bots, their machines. It's very rustic, it's very old, it's worn and torn. You can tell their machines have been in a battle. Many battles, that is. But when you're seeing the opponents, they're crystal clear and nice bots. On one hand, it makes me think that they're definitely better suited for battle, but on the flip side, it also makes me feel like they're a bunch of newbies who've never been on the battlefield, where Hsieh and the Undertaker is kind of like companions, right? It feels more like they are so combat-oriented that, you know, the way their bots look actually makes them more frightening than a nice shiny robot, because you can tell they've survived battles where these are probably fresh recruits. Still, it's just like the level of detail in the production is so interesting, and I was actually reading a few different comments saying that, you know, when people read some of the fights in the light novel, sometimes they had a hard time like following and they had to reread, but in the anime, because of how they're presented, they actually really enjoy the combat, which is a great sign to see from a source reader. Obviously, there may be different opinions on that, but it's really great to see, because for me, watching these battles, watching them jump around, watching the strategy, especially considering how Hsieh is so good at what he does, apparently. I mean, unless he's gonna make some catastrophic mistake, so far from what we can see, he's pretty damn good at what he does. The fact that by the time the handler actually comes in, they're already strategically placed. The location and the precision, the coordinates and things like that she was giving them would have been the most logical thing to do had they just deployed, but they were already ahead of her. And I love the idea of him saying, you know, stop sending out locations and things like that, because the way she was communicating information could display their actual location. There's such an interesting dynamic going on here, and I'm so intrigued to see how Hsieh and his opinion of the handler is going to evolve, because Lena is without a doubt trying to be a good person, and I don't think you can easily hate her. It's just the Republic side is toxic as shit, and even when thrown in their face that, you know, these are humans, well, they've been stripped of their rights, so we don't have to treat them as such. Toxic as shit. This is some disturbing shit. But to see how there's one person really trying her best to, you know, do anything for them, it's either going to get her killed or something worse, it feels like. And I love the idea of watching a character like Hsieh, who isn't your typical leader. There's something so mysterious about him and what he does to handlers that has me so excited for more. This was just as engaging as episode 1, hands down, and the world of this is very fascinating. I think it's been confirmed that the first core of 86 will be 11 episodes, and then obviously it's a split core, so coming back into fall is when we'll probably get the next 13 episodes, as I believe it was confirmed to be 24 if I'm not mistaken. Either way, I mean, this show's great, the world's great, the mechanics are great, and it's brutal. I'm loving Hsieh's side. We didn't get too much of him in episode 1, so to have, you know, good half, if not more, of the episode dedicated to the Spearhead Squadron was a great way to really see that the characters treated as literally machines are more human than seemingly what is considered human in the world of 86. Let me know your thoughts and feelings down below. Who's your favorite character, favorite moment, anything you're feeling about this episode. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, share your support, and hit that subscribe button if you happen to be around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.